amplifying your voice and making a true global impact on yourself, your personal brand, your company brand, or your company. We talked to an expert on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry. We are committed to being good stewards of the environment. We are providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Texas Star Alliance. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, hello again, and thank you as always for tuning in to another episode of The Crude Truth. I cannot believe we are already a quarter of the way through the year, and this year has just been a whirlwind and just super fast, and it's just been so exciting. Today on this episode, I am just super excited. We've brought in somebody that is just an excellent person. They are truly just an excellent person, just a beautiful soul. But more importantly, also, they are a visionary entrepreneur. She has made a significant impact in the world of public relations. She has a keen eye for innovation and a passion to really see others succeed. She has a great PR company called Amplify and Impact, and she has helped grow personal brands all across the globe. My guest today is Rachel Weaver. Rachel, how are you?
I am so great. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for coming into town. We got a chance to meet a couple of weeks ago at a family office event, and we got a chance to sit down and really just talk. And you were there for a couple of companies that you work for, or clients of yours that are companies, is a better way to put it. And you just sat down, and I was like, "Hey, how are you? And what are you here for?" She goes, "Oh, you said you're here working with a couple of clients, getting the word out about their companies because that is what you do for a living." I was like, "What do you mean?" And so after talking with you, I was like, wow, this is really, really helpful. And I got to learn more. And I want you to come on The Crude Truth. So for those out there that don't know you, can you just tell people who you are first?
Yes, thank you so much. So my name is Rachel Weaver. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am the founder and CEO of Amplify and Impact Global. We are a full service PR, media relations, and investor relations company. We truly feel passionate about helping businesses grow and thrive so they can make the positive impact they were created to make. So our job is to make sure you are seen and heard and your business is funded.
That is so important, the see and heard part. And that to me has been what's been so great to talk to you about. And that is something that a lot of companies don't do. And I think just the name Amplify and Impact, and the name of your company name, isn't that what we want to do? We want to make a positive impact. At least I want to make a positive impact. But we also want to amplify, even though we may not want to, or we're quiet people and want to stay to ourselves, and we're not flashy. But we have to still amplify. And you can do that without bragging or being flashy, as something you've talked about with me over the last couple of days.
Yes.
And so, when somebody comes up to you and goes, "Hey, Rachel, wow, you did a great job for this company over here that they were launching a fund," or something like that. What is normally a way that you talk to those guys and just meet with someone for the first time that might be asking you questions?
So there's various different ways, right? But yeah, to your point, I really believe that we do need to amplify our message and our purpose so that we can make that positive impact. When I meet with clients, first of all, I like to understand where they're at and where they want to be, right? Because it's twofold. And how big of an audience do they already have, or how many clients do they already have? Are they starting up their company? Because no matter what market or niche you're in, there's different levels that you can step into. But I say, even starting off, it's never too early to start growing your brand. Your brand is everything. Right. Think of some of the biggest companies out there. They are still spending millions of dollars a month on marketing to make sure that people don't forget who they are. We can see from miles away the Apple sign. We know it's Apple, right? Right. Coca-Cola is another example. Legos, the Boeing company. Yeah. We know Nike, the swoosh, right? It really is important that you're putting yourself out there and building your brand straight from the beginning. So as you grow, you just become more and more recognizable, which makes it a lot easier for you and your company when it comes to others seeing you. Our psychology says that when we recognize something and we see it omnipresent, we automatically feel like we know and can trust them. It's critical.
Wow. I love how you just brought in the psychology of that, and that you can emotionally know and trust them.
Yeah.
That's a lot right there.
Yeah.
When we talk to individuals, for us, a lot of people now call us just Pecos. Oh, yeah. The Pecos, which is great. We do have several different entities that have the word Pecos in it. So we like that. We got no problem with that. Plus, with material, it's just easy to put a Pecos on there than the company. But you mentioned there about people are spending, or companies spend millions of dollars a year on just being identified. Or, you see them. So we have a real big, and I heard that from a big company, and so I just wanted to just reiterate it and emphasize it. We have a big deal that we do in oil and gas every year called NAPE. And one company was there, and they're the biggest one in their side in their niche in the oil and gas space. And I asked them, and I was like, man, what do y'all got? What are y'all bringing to the table this year? And they go, nothing new. I was like, well, okay, they're front and center, and they go, look, if we're not here, all the other guys in our part of the market are going to, one, take some of those clients, or our current clients or people that we're thinking about us might think, oh, we're not around anymore. And it's like, so we should make sure that we have that presence. So I guess getting back also to the omnipresence, and I was like, oh, wow, that's so big.
Yes. Omnipresence is really important. We talked a little bit about the importance of putting yourself out there on all the different social media platforms, or gaining visibility through podcasts, through different publications or news outlets. And the reality of it is all human psychology, because when someone types in, maybe they've heard you speak. Right. Okay, we're going to give an example of, you have this amazing podcast that you're putting out there. Someone stumbles across it and says, I need some tax-free dollars. I need a write-off, and I'm going to find an investment that will help me to write off the dollar amount that I need. So I'm going to invest in oil and gas. He gave some great tips, talked about why we should invest in oil and gas. I'm going to Google this guy. Yeah. So I Google you, but what comes up in oil and gas is all of these companies that are omnipresent, and they're spending a lot of money on PR and marketing, and they've been seen in Forbes, and they've been seen on the Wall Street Journal talking about the benefits of oil and gas. Automatically, I saw you on one podcast, and I don't see you anywhere else, but I see these other companies that are all over the place and have all these publications to their name. I instantly think, well, this guy might just be starting out. I can probably trust this company because they've been featured here. They are on all the different social media platforms. I think I better invest in them.
Right.
So that's why it's really critical, because you might have more credibility with your credentials. Your company maybe has never lost money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what people see and perceive will outweigh what you know the truth is.
Right. And that was, I'm glad you brought that up, because you used a different example in our pre-production meeting that, you talk about credentials and that somebody might have just the best degree as a doctor.
Yes.
And all these wonderful things. And then the person that's got the social media presence is the one that's going to get it, even though just because of that.
Right.
And I was like, and so we do a better, I do think we do a little bit better job that hopefully if you put Pecos in there, we see more than just.
Yes.
Just
of course
okay,
you will.
okay.
You of course will. No, that was just a sole example, because you are on here, you are doing all the things. That's why we're here right now, right? And making sure that we're serving the audience.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yes.
Because that was a great question you asked me today. You said, well, what's your audience? And I was like, man, I've got a great audience. So thank you to everybody out there that's always listening. And, to some of my friends out there, and I don't know actually if I've ever said this on the show, but I remember when I first started it, it was like the Crude Truth. And I was a little bit nervous about, am I really going to get that many oil and gas people on the show? And I have. It's been a blessing.
That's great.
However, I also like bringing on other great industry leaders in other industries. And that is something I think that has also been so great. So that was what we talked about. It's like, well, how are you serving your audience? So if I was like, I don't know, what are you telling somebody? It's like, well, what are you doing for your audience? Or what kind of audience? So let's talk about that.
Well, it's really, really important, even for people who are running a podcast. In my personal opinion, and from what my company has seen in growth, when you bring other guests onto your podcast, are those guests serving your audience? Are they adding value? Are they adding value to your podcast and your audience? Because we can sit and have these conversations all day long, but if we're not serving those listening, why are they going to continue to listen? Yeah. Why are you going to gain new subscribers on your podcast? Yeah. If we're not adding value to their life when they sit there and they tune in for 20 to 30 minutes, well, we've got a lot of competition. So I tell everyone, anytime I am interviewed on a podcast, I want to make sure that I can serve you as the host, but primarily even above you a little bit is going to be, can I serve your audience? Because if I'm not adding value to their life, then I don't want it to be a flop. I want to be here serving. And it has really, I'm here and it has nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, the only people that really matter are those tuning in. Yeah. Right?
Right. And see, one thing though, I do like to think, you talk about your audience, I think bringing on outside industry people like yourself and others that are brought on, because I brought on some tremendous people in real estate, oh my gosh, congressmen and women, life coaches, some great, because those are so important today.
Absolutely.
Because we don't have role models. But then you bring on other experts like yourself, and it's like they need to hear the crude truth and what you're talking about. That's something else I think is great about the title of my show. But also, hey, it's going to bring in my opinion, people from your side. And it's like, okay, well, oil and gas isn't that bad. And these people are actually trying to do something, because I did a podcast the other day. I was actually the guest, and different to be in your seat. And I don't do as many. And they asked me where I saw marketing going. And this was something that you and I talked about. I said, we have to do a better job in oil and gas in getting the positive word out there. And that's why I have my show. So that's, again, really the main cause of the show. It's like, we got to show people, hey, we're all just working people no matter what side of the aisle we're on.
Right.
And so I thought that was a great little discussion that we had about, well, what about your audience and things like that? Because for any of my guests that are listening, I always say, I'm here to promote you. Like, I want to talk about what you're doing, why it is that you've become so successful in what you're doing. And so for you to go, well, yeah, it really kind of flipped it on me today.
Well, it's all out of love, right? It's all out of love, because I want to see Pecos and I want to see you and your company grow, and all of your goals be achieved and fulfilled, which ultimately is going to, the first time we met, you said, I'm in a life-changing business.
Yeah.
It's life-changing. And when we texted, you're like, life-changing meeting coming right up. I'm like, okay, I like the confidence. But the reality of it is when we talk about investing and we talk about the different opportunities that you're bringing to the table for people in oil and gas, it really can be life-changing, just like many different other things that are out there, right? And so I do like to help people see a different perspective, which I think it's great. As a host, you want to serve your guests that are on the show, but at the end of the day, we also want to really hyper-focus and let each of our guests know, what can you bring to my audience in oil and gas? I mean, maybe you don't know much about oil and gas, but how can you speak in a way that's going to serve them and also highlight a little bit of what we're doing here? Because really, that's the job of the guest, in my opinion.
Whoa. Well, I did not mean to put all that on you today. That's a lot.
Yeah. But I've been on a few podcasts, so it's okay.
But again, it just goes back to when I was talking about your, in the beginning, your qualifications on why you're here. I mean, look at the in-depth that you've done. How did you get into this? Like, where did this come from? Because before I let you answer, I'm so sorry, that different perspective. And that's what I feel like we've been able to do. It's like, oh, wow. And you've been able to take some positive things that I say and amplify them already.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, wow, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person. Try not to be, as flashy or anything like that. And I don't do a lot of talking. I don't. Yeah, I'll speak and I'll get, some may say I may be good, I may not be good. I speak and at conferences, and I do enjoy doing it, just, again, getting the positive word out there. But you have just already, again, really made people, I would like to think, you've already made people think like, oh, wow, look at all the extra that's out there that I'm not thinking about. So how did you get into this?
Well, you are a great speaker. I had the opportunity and pleasure of hearing you speak on stage. So, my journey has been quite extensive. I've been blessed to have opportunities to be in several different areas of business and live abroad. And I've lived all over the US. I've lived in Europe and in Asia. So my experience has been learning the psychology of the way people think in not just who we are here, but globally and culturally, each culture that we're talking to. And I tend to also believe that different industries have their own culture. And I think it's really important to understand that so that you can kind of speak their language. So I started off as a journalist on air. I did my first internship with CBS, and then I switched over and I was on NBC for a while, and then realized, wow, this is probably not for me, because I would be a little argumentative because that's not the story that I covered. And those are not the words that I said. And, they kind of would tailor and shifting the interviews that I would give or some of the things that we say. And unfortunately, that's just, their views matter, right, on news and media.
Right.
So I'm not going to go political, but the term fake news, it's been fake news for quite some time. Not completely fake, but embellished. And a lot of times, their job is to get more views onto their news station, right? That's their job. They're experts at that. So I'm not going to dive too much into it, but I just realized really quickly, this is not for me.
I kind of want to dive into it. But
I mean, we can. But
it's that clickbait, right?
Yeah.
And I can't do that. But literally yesterday, I saw one that said Dak Prescott traded to the Titans. Like, what? Click on it, and it goes, Dak traded to the... That was the caption. Then it goes, what would the reactions be if this happened? It's like, really?
Right. Clickbait.
Yeah, right. Oh, but however, you talk about brands and again, I want to talk about that because you're saying here that they have an audience. totally going off here for a second. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Because you see some of these now politicians, and they're saying the most outlandish things. Okay, they're not a politician anymore. They are creating their own brand.
Absolutely.
It's not about doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And they've done it on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
But even here in Dallas, we have a lady that's a Democrat, and she is saying some of the most outlandish things. And some of the news sources continue to bring her on, which helps them out. And it's creating her own brand. And it blows me away.
Right.
You know, that they are not using their platform for good, in my opinion. So let's saying that last piece right there. Let's, if you want to say something, please do.
Comment
if
on
not,
it. Sure.
okay,
Yeah.
we'll comment on it. Then we can use that doing it for good.
Okay. Yeah,
back to you've noticed they weren't for good, and then you got out of there.
Right.
So comment.
Yes. So we're going to use the example of the lady here getting all the interviews. I think that unfortunately for a lot of people globally, but especially in our country, we're going to speak here in our country, people tend to look at the media as the truth. And unfortunately, the media is after clickbait, right? They are after views, and they're going to bring people on to be interviewed, whether it's factual what they're speaking or not.
Right.
And like you said, some outlandish things. Yes, it happens on both sides, but the reality of it is people are very, very easily swayed. That's human psychology, right? We start to trust people. They're on TV. Oh, they must be credible. But unfortunately, we're not fact-checking things, which creates a lot of problems. And it's created a lot of division amongst our country, which to me is absolutely heartbreaking. Now, in other countries, it's not, we don't, you know, it's different, right? Because a lot of things are government controlled. So the news that's going out is like, you know, what we want to be seen. And it is a little bit like that on the different stations here in this country. However, I think that we owe it to ourselves. Like you have someone like this lady who's getting on all of the different news stations saying these things that are backlashing against other people's beliefs. And so I am not an advocate. I am all for building a brand, but I am 100%. I've turned companies down, or I've worked with companies or people for short periods of time. I've worked with politicians. I have to come with full disclosure. But at the end of the day, I will not continue to work with someone who doesn't want to come forth with good intentions. Your intentions there need to be good. And I know that a lot of people, especially they're speaking out with politics or their outlandish beliefs. In their mind, I'm going to tell people this because it's what's right and I want people to be educated. But then when you go and learn about what they're saying, you're telling people this because your opinion, not because of what's factual.
Right.
And that really can hurt a lot of people. It hurts audiences because they believe you. It hurts, you know, on both sides because it's not truthful. And at the end of the day, you know, it takes years to build a brand and build credibility within yourself. It takes seconds to destroy it.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
So you got into it. So you left media, or not media. I'm sorry. You left the news, the news, and with the knowledge that you're sharing, it's like what a vault you are of that knowledge. So like what are you bringing to some of your other companies? What are some of the things that you're doing? Yeah.
So I've gone around and come back to the industry, right? I left, and I believe that PR is a part of it. And I also do host some different do good news. Like you said earlier, do good news, factual, do good news. Let's talk about the positive things, because we have a lot of positive, but unfortunately, we're a country that craves drama. So why talk about the good that's happening in the world? Why not just highlight all the bad? Not my cup of tea, because it drains me and my energy. Yeah. So I left. I've been involved in several different sectors of business. And like I said before, I've lived abroad with different companies. I've traveled extensively. So I feel like I bring a very good balance to the table with knowledge and expertise of many different cultural challenges you can face, but also the ability to understand what's really needed to grow your brand, right? So with my PR company, yes, we have accessibility to any publication or outlet. Our job is to really help you grow your brand with credibility. But I also do a lot of homework. So I'm going to make sure that everything that we're putting out there into the world is of truth. Okay. And if they're not quite where they say that they are, we can help you get there. Okay. Right? Yeah. But I'm not going to embellish who you are or what your brand has done. I think that's really, really important. So we are more boutique style. We can build your brand out in a matter of 90 days. That's the reality. We do it all the time. Okay. We help companies who have been around, but they haven't made that breakthrough, just because we work with a lot of influential people and influencers online. I also have incredible connections in the news and in the media and publications, so we can get you highlighted for all the great things you're doing or trying to do, right? Your goals and your intentions are really what matters here when building out your brand. And we help people grow in all areas, whether it be in their social media and their LinkedIn, getting them that credibility through the press and media, teaching people how to claim their Google Knowledge Panel, so they are able to latch on and own all those publications that are out. They don't own the publication, but the article is attached to their website and their name. So we do a lot of that, and then we also speak on behalf of a lot of our clients. So myself and two other people that are on my team are trained speakers. We have extensive background and knowledge and have been speaking for many, many years. And then we also help raise capital. I've been very blessed to be able to have wonderful relationships with a lot of investors. And so a lot of my clients end up hiring me, really not even because they're trying to grow their brand. They don't even really care about growing their brand, but because they want to also be able to understand, how do I raise capital for my business? I've done it, I won't say it the wrong way, but I've done it the hard way. I've also done the bank loans. And I tell people all the time, I would absolutely wholeheartedly, any business that I step into, I would want to do it through investor capital or investor debt. I would not want to ever suggest bank loans again, or, bootstrapping. Yeah. Because why do most businesses fail? They don't gain access to the capital they need to grow.
Yes, and I think they also don't keep the patience, because it is a slower process, for working off of production. Yeah. And when you live off of your production and then not only do you like in oil and gas, so if you live off that, then you got to still carve off what you're going to go to develop out of that production. Right. And it's a great way, but it's not overnight. No. And you have to be patient.
Absolutely.
However, in order to scale, yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm loving what you're talking about here, because that is absolutely so important. It's like, how are you going to do it? And bank loans are not where it's at. Interest rates on even just CDs and things like that, it's like, why even go put your money over there to be safe when, in a bank, you're not even getting 1% right now. And so that's why investments are looking good. It's like, and keeping the money in the bank may be safe. And for my listeners, I'm using quotations when I say safe, but we got to put it to work.
Yes.
Like, that is the truth. As long
100%.
as you've got it working for you. I want to go back to two things you said. The first one is when you're putting out publications on what you're doing. I was like, yeah, but it's kind of like bragging, and that's not what we do. Like, I'll definitely put out there, hey, we're drilling, but have an operating company. That's what we do. But to sit there and say, hey, we acquired this, or this is doing that, or other things, don't do it. But your response was,
well, you need to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because how are people going to know what you're doing, or that they can trust that you are who you say you are without those pieces going out? That's one piece. And really, like you explain it to people, it's a life-changing opportunity. How selfish of you not to talk about it.
See, I love the way that's so cool. You just flip that. Like, is it? Right? Yeah, I know.
But it's not, yes, some people are out there bragging, they're flashing all their nonsense. You didn't come on here saying, so Rachel, let's go on my private jet later. You know what I mean? There is a difference between bragging and sharing what you have and the opportunity you have, but be proud. Yeah. Because if you're not proud, how can you expect someone else to want to invest in it?
That is true. I like that. That's a better way to look at it. Because I am proud, and I love our story, our family history in the industry, and so I do like that way when you put it. Be proud.
Yeah.
Like I've been telling you, it's like, if you came out to the field, I said, we don't have those giant West Texas rigs out there. We're, a little bit, smaller. Right. And I'm not about setting expectations, but I at least want to let people know what to expect or something. I don't know. Because sometimes I think setting expectations is a good thing, but most of the time.
Especially when we're talking about investments.
Right.
But yes. I think also there is a little bit of a flip side to what you were just talking about. Within the first 5 minutes of us meeting and sitting down and talking, you're like, I'm a guy who goes up and I educate and I give information, but I don't talk about my story. Yeah. And I understand, but here's why. I would never tell someone, don't share your story. Your personal, deep, dark traumas that you've overcome, you don't have to share those, right? But sharing some of your story and part of those struggles is what makes you real. Right. It's what makes people connect with you. Sharing a story when speaking, or sharing a story when you are talking to potential buyers or investors, it's actually more important than most people think. A lot of people think this is for the dollars. This is, at the end of the day, yes, it is. Yeah. But how much competition is out there, especially when we're talking about oil and gas? Right? You're a family-owned business, right? What is the story of this family-owned business that's going to give me confidence to invest in your company versus one of these big, branded, well-known names, right? Right. These massive corporate companies. So we know through research and data that still, even massive investments, more than 87% of the time, people invest in them because there's an emotional feeling that they have. Yeah. Something correlates with who they are or what they're feeling when they end up making that investment. So it's important to tell your story.
It is. It really is. And I kind of find that when I'm just talking to potential investors and things like, hey, this is where we came from. This is what's going on. And it's a lot easier to do it that way than being all bravado about it and things like that. And like I said, this past week, as we record this episode, I talked about our story. And I haven't done that. Like, it's just where I felt like Ricky Bobby, what do I do with my hands? Yeah. And because I'm very, very proud. But I guess when you kind of do that, you don't look as confident.
Right.
And so that was one. So getting the notifications out there. And then the other one that really stuck out to me is just showing and doing and just, putting stuff out there. Like, I know it's the same, but it's not the same.
Right.
Branding. And so I just really think those things are so important to what you guys are doing over there. You said you've worked with so many different people. What is really an ideal client for you, if that is a such thing? Or, you know, what kind of crisis management do you do? Do you do any crisis management? Which one do you want to talk about? Ideal client or crisis management?
Well, let's talk about the client. I mean, I will say we do a lot of crisis management.
Okay.
It's definitely not the funnest job in the world, right?
Right.
Which is why I try to, you know, I've worked in the politics world. So 100% of that, no, not 100%, but I would say probably 95% is crisis management, if we're being very honest, right? So that's kind of why I'm very cautious and careful before I step into accepting a client like that. Our ideal clients are typically going to be a little bit more established people or businesses that are ready, that have the capital, and they have the, they have the plan, right? So in terms of PR, I have no problems I have worked with a lot of coaches. I've worked with a lot of celebrities. We have two sides to our business, two divisions. We have the entertainment side, which I do put, some of the coaches and mentors into that group. And then we have the business side where we're working with companies that are really growing. So we've worked with some healthcare companies, several IT companies, a lot of AI companies. We're stepping into working with oil and gas companies. But no, we've worked with both very large and small startups, all the way into companies that are being acquired for billions of dollars. So we've done a little bit of everything. Our primary focus is really going to be only companies we feel confident we can help. So I tell people, let's sit down, let's have a Zoom call, let's really go over a few questions that we have to ask and see if we're a good fit for each other, because we're very boutique.
Right.
I don't accept every client that reaches out to me for a multitude of different reasons, but I always want to be sure that we're in alignment, and that the same goes for if we're raising capital or helping to raise capital or bring capital to a client or a company. I want to make sure it's a good fit for us, because I do have a lot of investor relations, and the last thing I want is to lose one of my relationship's money, right? Right. One of the investors that I have a relationship with, I don't want to lose their money. So I'm very cautious and skeptical before I go into anything in terms of helping with raising capital. I have to believe in it. And I know a lot of people believe in the whole, only using other people's money for things, or, they will step into being scared to invest some of their own money or take, risk. And I tell people, if you're not willing to take the risk, then why would an investor? Right? Yeah. So that's another reason it's really important to share part of your story, because the reality of it is you've put a lot of your own money into it. You have been in the dirt. You've done the work. You've gone to school. You've gone back to school to really understand and learn your craft, so that people coming in have confidence in you. Because at the end of the day, people buy people.
And that's the crude truth.
Right.
Wow. Every time we've been able to talk, I feel like I get more out of it. And you said the other day, you're like, I'm a professional speaker. But your knowledge in this is amazing. And you see what you're doing with all these other clients. If people actually looked at your book portfolio, wow, what a success it's been with Amplifying Global, Amplifying Impact, excuse me.
Thank you.
And so I cannot thank you enough. For those out there that might need somebody to come in and do a 90-day turn around and get somebody going, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can book a call through visiting our website or texting my assistant.
And what's your website?
Yeah. So our website is under construction. So we're building a new one. So, but they can find us at levelupmediapr.com.
Okay.
Or they can text us at 412-435-1340.
Okay.
And they can text us and let us know, and then somebody will get back to them within 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, Rachel, I cannot thank you enough for the time today. Thank you for coming in to share this knowledge, because people need to hear it. Again, so many entrepreneurs are all great people, and we all don't understand every aspect of building a business. Like, I may be good at digging holes in the ground, but how do you amplify that?
Right.
And actually then build a business, because we've been like something else we've talked about. So I know that I can't be the only one with these questions. So again, getting back to what does my audience want, I think I've got a great audience, and I always tell people that I have a terrible social media presence. So having someone like you come on, because I think a lot of people that watch my show have even better ones than I do. So just to add you, and have you come in and share your thoughts, it's like, who else may have the same questions that I have?
Yeah.
So I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor and pleasure. I hope that I served your audience well. But yes, it's so much fun. I hope to come back again.
Okay. And what was that website again, one more time?
So currently it's levelupmediapr.com.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Rachel. And to all our listeners out there, if you do have any questions, again, like I always say, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you as always. And we'll see you again on another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, the Crude Truth would like to thank today's sponsors: LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Sandstone Group, Exec Crew, Texas Star Alliance, Pecos Country Operating, and Real News Communication Network.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.